Hey, how y'all doing out there? Welcome to Two Gents Podcast. I got AF Riggins. I imagine Byron Glass gonna join us in a little while. I haven't heard anything from him, but we got a good show going on for the night. Pastor, how you doing?
Pretty good, sir.
I'm just out here trying to. How's my microphone? Cause last night I did a show and I didn't know where my sound was coming from. I had two or three things going. So how does my sound? How does it sound?
You sound good. You sound real well.
Good. How was school today, Pastor?
Man, you know how it is. Just busy.
It's a job, huh?
Impress today, so I still got my dress to impress on.
I see.
Send you a photo. But send you a photo, then you'll try to post it.
No, don't send me a photo. Don't send me a photo.
I got a young man always trying to take a photos of me in school, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, shoot. Well, we got an intriguing show. With all that's been going on, have you been able to watch any of the news that's out there, Pastor?
Yeah, I have, sir. I have. Yes, sir.
Give me your opinion of it. What's going on and some of that stuff from PBS that they let go last night. I don't know if you was able to watch any of that.
I didn't see that when they let go, but I just know Trump is on a mission to destroy PBS and NPR. And it has a lot to probably even do with what we're talking about now, with our
why does the Black America stay so loyal to the party that has no loyalty to them?
Yes, we're gonna talk about that tonight.
Yeah, and that also ties into what I talked about last night on the radio. You know.
Yes, sir.
Somebody has to be held accountable. It doesn't seem like nobody wants to step up and pull off that Band-Aid and say, yeah, I knew, so we can move on to something different and have a different subject matter. But
I'm gonna get to why it's a history behind it.
Okay.
It's a history behind it. And so I don't know if you want me to start off with the history or what.
Well, Pastor, I sound like you're ready to go. Like you're ready to go.
Why? And I think what you're referring to is why African Americans or people of color loyal to the Democratic Party, and doesn't seem like the Democratic Party is producing what they want from them. It's what I believe is what the show is really trying to say. Let's go back. During slavery, there's the Democratic Party, the Whig Party, and the Republican Party.
Okay.
Southern states was mostly Democratic. Some of the middle states was Whig, some Republican, and the northern states were mostly Republican. When Abraham Lincoln won. Abraham Lincoln won like President Clinton won. He won because there was three people running. And that sparked the Civil War because the southern states, the Democrats said, if Lincoln wins, he's going to leave the Union. And he left the Union, and Abraham Lincoln fought a war to keep the Union together at first. He wasn't fighting a war to end slavery. He said, we must stay together. Whether we're all free or all slave, we got to stay together. But we're not all free and not all slave. But I want to keep the Union together. At one point, he was trying to convince the southern states, keep your slavery, just don't let it spread to any other states. And don't come up here when the slaves run away, defeat the slave law and bring them back. But the Union started losing the war. Losing the war so bad till he switched 2 or 3 generals, and he finally got to General Grant. And Frederick Douglass and a couple other guys, abolitionists, convinced him to listen. If you free the slaves to fight for their freedom, it put more passion into the war. The Emancipation Proclamation happened on January the 1st, 1863. It said all slaves from the southern states that would come and fight, they could fight for their freedom and be set free. And so we got the black regiments and black soldiers, which later became Buffalo Soldiers.
Yes, sir.
And with the Union wins the war. And so then Abraham Lincoln and then pushed for the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery except if you're in prison. And they started the 14th Amendment, which gave citizenship, which Trump is trying to take away right now, the 14th Amendment. That if you're born in America, you're a naturalized citizen of America. which means all slaves born in America, just like all Anglo-Americans, were citizens. Okay?
Okay.
And then they put together a voting rights, but the voting rights did not include African Americans per se. Just all men was eligible to vote now, not just landowners. And which the Voting Rights Act had the voting rights didn't extend because of the grandfather clauses. Could you read? Was your grandfather a slave? All that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But the main thing was now most African Americans were Republicans.
Yes, sir.
And it came down to Congress. People out of Mississippi, all the kind of places. It's called Reconstruction, in which these southern states, Confederate states, had to be in all the rules to become part of the Union again. And that's what sparked the KKK and other groups to stamp out Reconstruction. After Lincoln was killed, Andrew Johnson became president, and they thought Andrew Johnson went too far with Reconstruction. That's how he got impeached. But he beat the impeachment by 1 vote to be put out as president. But you fast forward, that's late 1800s. By 1915, we had Woodrow Wilson. Well, before then, Republican President Theodore Roosevelt came along. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Theodore Roosevelt was a Republican, and he was one of those quiet racist guys. People don't like to hear this kind of talk in history. They try to cover this stuff up. But San Juan Hill in Cuba, when he wins, before he's president, he has what you call the Rough Riders and the Buffalo Soldiers. Buffalo Soldiers won the battle, but the Rough Riders, his cavalry, got the credit.
Wow.
Okay. So going into the president, so now you can start seeing the Republican presidents starting to creep up, because it's not the R or the D, it's who's wearing the R and the D.
Yes, sir.
Okay. By 1915, Woodrow Wilson, Republican president, was one of the most racist presidents ever. He let the KKK march in Washington, D.C. He wrote a book, The History of the United States, which he talked bad about Reconstruction. He talked bad about, and he coincided with The Birth of a Nation, that movie, that was a racist movie. And Woodrow Wilson was straight up planted the seeds that lie deep into the racism of politics today.
Wow.
Okay. Even though we won World War I and all that stuff, the army was separate.
Yes, sir.
The army was separate. My great-grandfather fought in World War I, fought World War I as a Buffalo Soldier, because the army was segregated all the way through to World War II.
Yes, sir.
Fast forward. Afterward, Franklin D. Roosevelt comes into power. Franklin D. Roosevelt is a Democrat. He's different than Theodore Roosevelt. Franklin D. Roosevelt, his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, was friends with many of the African-American women. Fought for women's right to vote and everything. She had them over all the time at the White House. Franklin D. Roosevelt was a man that was handicapped from polio. Nobody know that most of the time, because they didn't have TV back then. TV was just coming to being. They never let you see him in a wheelchair a lot of times, or with a walking cane. He was a strong man from the inside out. And a lot of the stuff, the Fair Deal, the New Deal, the Social Security, welfare programs, all that stuff, because of the Great Depression that happened because of Hoover, who had messed up everything. Franklin D. Roosevelt saved the economy, saved the nation through World War II, and he was a Democrat. So now Democrats begin to move from being Republicans and Democrats to mostly being Democrats. Eisenhower came along. Eisenhower was quiet. He never really showed you his hand, but he never did want to try to stop segregation either.
Wow.
Okay. So what built up on that? What built up on that was this: a race in 1960 for the president of the United States, in which one of the slimmest margins ever won. Kennedy beats Nixon. Nixon is a blatant racist. Kennedy is a Democrat from Boston area that championed the rights. Now, they had to twist his arm a lot. His brother was more liberal than he was, Robert F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy. Yes. But John F. Kennedy had the look. He had the Camelot. He had the beautiful wife. I was growing up all over black people's homes. They had pictures of him and his wife on a wall. And by him becoming a martyr for his involvement in illegal activities while he got killed, but in the eyes of the African American community, he was like the first coming of Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. So now African Americans are deep in the Democratic Party. And Johnson helped it because why? As King marched, as King spoke, as King kept on trying to get rights, he had to go to Johnson and twist Johnson on, because Johnson was from Texas, Southern boy.
Yes.
And Johnson saw them kids getting showered down with those water holes and dogs. Johnson couldn't take it no more. When Johnson saw the bloody Sunday on a Pettis Bridge in what's that, in Montgomery, Alabama? Is it Montgomery or no, Selma? Selma. He couldn't take it no more. And so now the Democrats bought into African Americans bought into the Democratic Party, right? Pay attention. Coming out of Johnson came Nixon. Johnson started the Vietnam. Nixon went right straight into Vietnam, and Nixon was during the time of all this college people was all protesting the war. Robert F. Kennedy got killed before doing all this time. All this stuff happened. So now Democrats look at Nixon as the symbol of racism and a crook. So we stayed in the African Americans stayed in the Democratic Party. I was born in 1968. I grew up as a Democrat.
Yes, sir.
Carter, the peanut man, they call him. Because Ford, all he did was pardon Nixon and lose to Carter. Right? Carter,
yes, sir.
Peanut man from Georgia, down to earth, big heart, Sunday school teacher. Wanted to help everybody out. But he was weak on foreign policy. And that's how the Iran hostage thing happened. And with the Iran hostage stuff going on so long, it weakened his presidency. And here come Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan was a movie star, never moved into politics again. Just like Donald Trump never was in politics. Ronald Reagan was a movie star. Ronald Reagan was a radio man on the radio, a radio personality and a movie star. And Ronald Reagan was racist.
Wow.
People want to hear this. That's what caused Newt Gingrich to build his platform off of Ronald Reagan policies. So while Reagan now looks like a hero in a lot of areas, in a lot of areas, he deepened the just say no. That came from Ronald Reagan, the war on drugs. While they was infusing the black community with drugs. Oh man, the Iran Contra scandal.
Yes.
Okay. So that's why. So when you look at Ronald Reagan, then George W. Bush is a step on Ronald Reagan. So he wants a gentle kind of nation, but really, when you don't speak out, if you don't speak out against something, in people's eyes, in the community eyes, you're approving of it.
You're complicit.
You're complicit. So Bush was complicit. So here comes Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton from a little place called Hope, Arkansas. I've been there. Went there.
Me too.
Deep, almost like a black town. And he came, and people call him the first black president, they said. Because Bill Clinton came with the same agenda in a newer way as Franklin D. Roosevelt. He came with a new agenda in a new way as the Kennedys.
Yes, sir.
But no matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, you're going to have corruption because it's mixed. The government, the way that we run our government is mixed with corruption because there are too many people that are pushing with what you call lobbyists and backdoor deals and all that. Clinton was cool until what? What he had been doing as a governor, what he had been doing when he was younger, caught up with him in the White House, dealing with other women, but except his wife, and it came to a big mess. However, because of the morals of our country are not high standards, his approval rating shot up after all that mess. Al Gore should have let Clinton run with him. But Al Gore tried to say he was a family man, kissing the wife and all this kind of stuff. And really, to be honest, he did win Florida, but he didn't know how to fight to win Florida. Hanging chads, you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And Supreme Court gave the race to George W. Bush. Now, George W. Bush messed up a lot of stuff. Foreign policy, you know, talking about 9/11.
You know, Pastor, the one thing that I remember about George W. Bush, and this was probably one of the dumbest things I ever heard a president say, was he tried to kill my father.
Yeah. So about, right, he's trying to use the reason why they want to go back and fight Saddam Hussein.
Absolutely.
Because his dad had did the Gulf War for 30 days, and now he wanted to pin the 9/11 on Saddam Hussein, which was erroneous. But he did have Colin Powell, Secretary of State. He did have Condoleezza Rice, some stuff. So he was trying to get African Americans involved. He did. He was the one that appointed Clarence Thomas.
Mm-hmm. But he also
Daddy appointed Clarence Thomas.
He also had Cheney trying to stuff his pockets too. There was stuffing his pockets while Bush was doing all these wars and all the rest of that.
Right. The corruption, the corruption. Because Cheney was an all man. So guess what? The Democrats stayed with, the African Americans stayed with the Democrats because John Kerry lost. But after John Kerry lost, Barack Obama shows up. Now, the Clintons thought they had a hold on the Democratic Party, and that's where the split started happening. I left the Democratic Party in 2008 because the way they ran the primaries, they were trying to give everything. They didn't want to split a primary vote on how many votes you got. They want to give a whole state to when they won. They won by one, or they won by 1,000, if they won by 100,000, instead of splitting the vote. And I felt like they was trying to push Barack Obama out. Barack Obama prevailed against Clinton, but I went independent then.
Mm-hmm.
And what has happened is African Americans have stuck with the Democratic Party mainly because see, first of all, in the South, during the time of Eisenhower and Kennedy and stuff, the South were called Dixiecrats. The Democrats were racist. George Wallace and all them guys.
Mm-hmm.
But when Nixon took over, it flipped to where the racism went into the Republican side more than the Democratic side. I'm giving y'all a history story tonight to see why we stick with them.
And that's the reason. And Pastor, let me say something before you really get in, before you go any further. I just want to let you know, because sometimes when we come on here and we have a history teacher that's here and he can teach history, we're here to put the history out there so you can form your own opinions. We're not like everybody else. And that's the reason why you don't hear my voice as much. And you might not hear Byron Glass when Pastor Riggins is talking, because if you don't know the source of how we got here, it's kind of hard to comment on what's coming or what's the future what's entailed in the future. So I just want to interject, and if you just joined us, we appreciate you joining in. If you have any questions on YouTube, you can make comments or whatever. But right now we're getting taught. We're in school for a minute. We're gonna get into questions and formulate our own opinions, and hopefully by the end, our own Byron Glass will be in. We're gonna, Pastor Riggins, I'm sorry for interrupting you. I hope you haven't lost your thought, but I just need to let people know what's going on right now, because I'm quiet too. I love hearing history.
Yes, sir. Okay. So, and in the backdrop of some of this stuff is the Rodney King beating that happened during George H.W. Bush time, right before Clinton became president. In the backdrop of this whole situation is why Clinton was president. Guess what happened? The O.J. Simpson trial. All this kind of stuff added up to that a lot of people as African Americans say, where is my best interest? It lied with the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you something though. In 1988, Donald J. Trump was being groomed by the Russian government.
Wow.
To run as a Democrat. But he decided not to. He kept watching and staying outside until Barack Obama won. And when Barack Obama won, the Anglo-Americans said, we want our country back. Donald Trump seized on it and says, I'm going to make America great again, which his dad was a KKK. They got arrested in 1927 in New York. 9 people arrested doing KKK activities, and one of them was Fred Trump, his dad. Okay?
And you know, most people don't think that's true, Pastor. You know they don't.
Well, you have to look it up. Go look it up. So they can go look it up. So I'm not gonna if I tell you something wrong, it's not because I'm trying to tell you something wrong. It's because maybe I'm in my 50s and forgot something. But what I'm telling you is the truth. I live this history. I've been teaching history since 1998. Okay? So, and I've been studying history since 1986.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So world history since 85, 86, I started studying world history. And fifth in the state in Louisiana that year in world history. 5th in the state, all the high school students in Louisiana in history. 5th in the state. 1st in my whole area, sweepstakes. I'm looking at the trophy right now across on the fireplace over there. So it's not something I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to tell you that when I say I know something about it, I've studied it and read it and tried to get to the bottom of it. Here's what happened. The Democrats believe in Barack Obama. Trump came along and said that he was going to take America back again. And so the Democrats stuck with Clinton. Trump got that election. I didn't say he won it. He got that election. And we got plunged into COVID. Biden, who had been vice president for 8 years with Barack Obama runs, we run with Biden and he wins again.
Mm-hmm.
The problem it is, by this time, 33% of the country are Democrats, 33% of the country is Republican, and 33% of the country are independents. Here's what the problem it is, though. For Congress and the Senate is like this. Every state is going to get 2 senators, no matter what. Every state will get 2 senators. But the Congress is based on geography and where people live at. And what they did, Newt Gingrich started, is called gerrymandering.
Oh,
gerrymandering,
yeah.
You draw the lines where you're going to have districts that only a Republican can win some districts and only the Democrats can win some districts. And that's where we have a problem at, Ron.
Mm-hmm.
Not that, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not that the African Americans want to stick with the Democratic Party. There's no independent party in Congress. See,
yes, sir.
You can have 4 or 5 people that are independents, but they're going to caucus with the Democrats. You're going to have 1 or 2 senators independent, they're going to caucus with the Democrats. I don't know how many independent people there are actually in Congress, 435 of them. It might be about 20 of them, but they're going to caucus with the Democrats because they don't have their own party.
Yes.
So while the country is 33% Democrat, 33% Republican, and 33% independent, the best bet for people who want our rights, who want economic for the middle class and low Americans, who want fairness, is to run with the Democratic Party. But what they don't know how to do is when to break to vote on certain things that's their best interest. See, you can stay with that party because we don't have an independent party. Well, it's been set up as a 2-party system ever since Lincoln. See, there was the Whigs, there was Democrat, Republican. After that, it was mostly Democrat, Republican all these years. Ross Perot was the closest one to run as an independent. So nobody's got to put together a way to organize and codify, which means make it part of have enough of people in Congress to where up to 435, instead of being like 218 or 220 to 209 or whatever, to where it slices up to where there are 3-party split. 435 divided by 3. And that's what the problem of it is. It's been designed, it's going to either be a Republican or Democrat in Congress, and they're the ones who make the laws. And so then you trying to run that way, but then when it comes to the president, all the president has to do is pick whatever party he thinks got the most power. And right now the Republicans hold the most power by gerrymandering. So So that's how Trump ran with the Republicans, and he's giving everything they want to hear while he's grifting the nation. What I mean by grifting, making money for himself. He don't care who he hurts, doing a bunch of lies and a whole lot of racism. What we have to do as I'm independent, but as African Americans, we got to get enough independence to know how to do on the ground level, like in these counties and in the districts and stuff, to get enough that we can flip out of Republicans and flip out of Democrats. Right now,
so Pastor, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
For a layman that's out there, can you explain when you say that you're independent? What are you saying? So anybody that's out there that wants to try to understand what you're saying and what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish by saying that you're independent.
Okay. When you get ready to vote, you have to register for primaries. You see, by the time we have an election for the president, the candidates have went through primaries. A primary means that when that state decides to put on the ballot who's gonna win this state who's gonna win this state to get delegates to vote at the convention to put somebody on the ballot. See, we don't have a true democracy. We have a republic. A republic means we vote on people to represent us. Even to get to be president, they have to have delegates for each state. And based on the population of the states, how many delegates you get. Well, most states have two parties, Republican and Democrat, but you can register as an independent.
Mm-hmm.
But you mean if you register independent, in some states you can't go pro in the primary. In some states you register independent, you can vote in either primary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the problem with it is. I'm a registered independent. When I do my driver's license, ready to vote, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm registered independent. Now, statistics and polls say that 33% of the people in the nation are independents, but what it is, they're spread out across 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
They're not organized. So in one state, in Oregon, independent might go vote with Democrats. In Louisiana, independent might go vote with what? Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
In another state, they might can't vote at all in the primary. So this two-party system is hampering the progress of America. Because now you got 33% of the people. Let me tell you how the American Revolution happened. 33% of the people were patriots. 33% of the people were loyalists. That means they wanted to be King George. And 33% of the people were neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And the neutral people, on one day, if they can make money off the patriots, they ran with the patriots. On another day, they can make money off the loyalists, they ran with the loyalists.
Yes, sir.
What happened that we got France involved to help us win the war. But only 33% of the people wanted America to be a nation. So right now, same thing. About 33% of people are Republicans, but they're allowed when they're the MAGA. They're doing all kind of crazy. Of the Republican Party, 33% of the Republicans, of the nation of Republicans, and of the Republicans, 80% of them are MAGA.
Yes, sir.
Let me say it again. 33% of the nation of Republicans. Of that 33%, 80% of them are MAGA, which means Trump can jump up and down, get out of his underwear, hang upside down on a pole, and they're going to still go vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
80% of Republicans. Okay? Then in the independent party, if 33% of them are independent, but if Trump gets 20% of their vote and the Democrat gets 80% of their vote, he's now made up for the 20% of the Republicans he don't have. You see?
Mm-hmm.
And if 33% of the country is Democrats, and if 5% of the Democrats don't like a candidate and don't want to go vote at all, you've now given Trump that 5% because it's a no vote.
And that's the thing that I don't think that people understand, Pastor. That's the hardest thing to register with people, that no vote. If you sit there and say that I don't have a dog in the hunt, so I'm not going to go out and vote, it's basically, and I hate to say it, and they say it best, is you're giving your vote to somebody else. But I normally say it a different way, but because we're talking about this right now, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. And D writes, you sound like a Democrat. If you are an independent, does that mean that you vote for the best candidate?
Let me answer a question.
Okay.
Yes, Positive D, I was raised a Democrat. However, I vote for the best candidate. If John Kasich would have ran, the Ohio governor, who's a Republican, who's now becoming independent himself after Trump came on the scene, if he'd ever ran for president of the United States, I would have voted for him, except against Barack Obama, because Barack Obama was a better candidate. After that, after Barack Obama, the next best candidate I've seen was John Kasich, which was
so Pastor, before we go any further, and we got another question I'm gonna bring up. Who is John Kasich? Can you introduce us to him and what he stood for and what it took? Why did he impress you so much?
John Kasich was an Ohio governor who was conservative, which means he was in the background, he was a Christian. He was trying to do right by people. But a lot of laws and a lot of things Ohio passed up under him was fair to a lot of people. And when Trump came on the scene in 2015 with this racist thing, he came down the elevator talking about the Mexicans and he was going and talking about people from the Muslim countries and all that. John Kasich came out loud and clear and denounced all of it, and had no parts of wanting of any of that MAGA stuff. All he wanted was if George H.W. Bush talked about a gentler kind of nation, John Kasich wanted a real gentler kind of nation. And ever since then, he's been a commentator as an independent. He became independent, just like Joe Scarborough. A lot of people left the Republican Party after Trump joined. Michael Steele, same thing. He was a Republican. He was the African American from Dallas and Virginia. He's been both places. He lived in Virginia and in Dallas. He was the Republican Party
chairman.
That beat John Kerry for George W. Bush. But when Trump came on the scene, he denounced the Republican Party for embracing Trump. And he's an independent, and he operates like a Democrat now in all of his views, because what he's espousing to are the things that the Democrats espouse to, because it's all against what Trump is doing. So people have to be wise enough to vote for the best candidate, but the system has been set up till it's hard to make a third candidate show up in the ballot for the president and win.
Yes, sir.
Because we don't have it on the ground in the Congress. And we got 3 parties. We should have even 4 parties before Abraham Lincoln ran. Sometimes it was 4 or 5 parties. But
yes,
only white men who own land could vote back then. Let me say it again. Only white men who own land could vote back then. Then in the 15th Amendment, any white man could vote. Any male could vote. But the point of it was mostly white men, because they had all these clauses about, does your grandfather was a slave? Can you read? Can you sign your name with an X and all that stuff?
Poll tax. Don't forget about poll tax.
Can you pay the poll tax? And then the 19th Amendment, the women got the right to vote. He went to the Voting Rights Act that everybody got the right in 1965. And now they stripped that act, because that's why George W. Bush makes me upset. He never pushed for it to be reestablished. So now Trump and them are trying to go into the voting rights that they try to get it passed up under Biden. What's it on? The one that died, Good Trouble.
Let me do this. We got a couple of questions out there, Pastor, and I want you to answer them as we go. Yeah. Okay. I'm a bit confused. Here the only reason is because none of the presidents can't put money into their pocket and steal.
Please rephrase it, Positive.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna read. I'm sure the next one. A president makes $400,000 a year and then paid a monthly $50,000 a year.
Yeah. But let me tell you what the problem is. Just like Trump trying to get the jet from Qatar. Mm-hmm. Just like in his first administration, within the first 2 or 3 months, they went over the Soviet rating, and his daughter got $24 million. Just like he keep talking about having a trade war with China, but his daughter made millions of dollars out of China. Trump found a loophole in being the president that every other president had one thing in mind: I come to serve the country. Trump came in and said he come to serve himself with the power of the presidency. Let me say it again.
He didn't serve his pastor.
He came in and used the power of the president to serve himself.
Serve his family. Don't forget family.
Right. It's everything that's related to him. Yeah. So that's what we have the problem at. Every other president I've known, now, if they wanted to serve a cause, like Woodrow Wilson was trying to serve the white man's cause. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't trying to put no money. He wasn't trying to serve himself. If any other president was getting money in the back door, it was on the low key. Nobody ever knew about it. It was undercover. Probably why Kennedy ended up dead, because his dad had a lot of deals with the mobs and all that kind of stuff. And stuff was going on in Cuba, in the Baker Pigs. All that kind of stuff was going on. We don't know all happening. The Russian mafia was involved. People don't like to hear about all this stuff. But Trump blatantly says, stop me from using my position to do what I want to do. Matter of fact, he'll have people come over to Washington, D.C., stay in his hotels and charge them to stay there that's doing government business.
Yep.
He charged the government to take care of the Secret Service that watch him even after he wasn't president.
Let's get deep, because I see our other boy out there too. And when I say boy, I'm not calling a grown man a boy. I'm just saying one of our supporters, our strong supporters, is out there. He's always listening and he's always on the air. D, we're gonna get your question right now. So let me ask. Let me answer a question about the Democrats lying to us. I can't say the Democrats have lied to us. But what I can say, the Democrats have not known how to play the game. Not good.
They tried their best. Franklin D. Roosevelt, Kennedy, Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, all the policies they had passed. Because remember, the policy got to go through Congress first. Affordable Health Care Act, a lower prescription costs for people sick, voting rights. Everything they've tried to do is Democrats. On paper, they tried their best. But in action, a lot of times they fell short because the Republicans always outplayed them in the lobbyist game or in a way of twisting things and making it look bad. Remember when they was doing the Affordable Health Care Act, they had people like pushing old people out in a wheelchair on commercials against Barack Obama? Mm-hmm. But guess what? All the Congress people got Affordable Health Care Act. Ted Cruz and all of them had it. The Democrats just don't know how to, like, even when Biden was getting everything passed, he wouldn't go out there and say, look what I done, look what I done, look what I done. That's where they go wrong. They don't know how to play the political game. Pastor, look at the question that's on the page, and it's from Dale. He got 2 or 3 of them. I'm getting to him, Dale. My maternal grandparents. I switched to being independent after Reagan. See, he know I told the story, because Reagan was racist. Reagan bought. Look, the war on drugs and all that stuff, that was a made-up war. We infuse the communities with the drugs, then we fight them. And he's in agreement about John Kasich. Dale Summers, I came from a Democratic point of view. He came from a Republican point of view. Where we at? We both end up in the middle, independence. But we don't have enough of positions, and we don't have the framework, that's the word I'm looking for independent government in Congress. So if people get voted as independents, they have to caucus with Democrat or Republican. They mostly caucus with Democrats. But the Democrats, Democrats don't have a middle ground. We either are weak or we out there real loud like AOC and Bernie Sanders and looking like we're crazy. Barack Obama and Bill Clinton played to the center. You got to play to the center. Where people like you sound sane, you sound like you make sense, but you mean way off of people. That's what got Biden to do a lot of stuff passed. Because Biden had been in Congress since 1976. He knew how to work in the center. But Biden got too old. He got too old. And you see what's wrong with him right now? He got too old. I'm not the thing about Biden, Pastor, and I did a show last night. And I really want to interject here, because people need to understand Alzheimer's don't happen overnight. Yeah. The cancer that they say Biden has right now,
It didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
He was the president of the United States. He should have had the best health care. The best, because he had to be in good condition, because he represented all of us.
Yeah.
All of us. And that kind of irritates me, because when I was doing the show, I really got irritated, because the more I thought about it, he was in a declining condition while he was in office.
Yes.
He had cancer while he was in office.
Yes.
He could have, and Pastor, I want you to help me out here, because he could have said, look, I got all this stuff going on, and maybe I can switch at this point before it came down for him to come out of office because of health conditions. But somehow something came up when he elected to run again. And the people that was supporting him or hiding him or keeping him out of certain people's eyes or whatever, they were conclusive. They were a part of it. And that includes his wife.
Yep.
That includes his wife and anybody that was around him in little bitty circles that protected him from the American public, and then kind of pushed it. I don't think Biden was there enough to make the decision to run again. I think Biden's little party made the decision that they wasn't ready to leave their cushy positions within the White House, and that's how this whole thing got started. But we did it. That's the reason why the Democrats are in the position they are right now, because they can't recover unless they pull the Band-Aid off. And I'm sorry, Pastor, I got caught up.
This is what I believe, because Biden made a statement when he said he was going to run. He says, I'm going to run. They said, you sick. But I believe she's a good person to take over. Biden thought that he could run against Trump, beat Trump, sick, and let Kamala take over. Because when he had that first debate, he was bubbling and all that crazy stuff. They said, won't you quit running? No, I'm going to run. And I believe I got a strong vice president with me. He thought he could beat Trump on his name and what he had done, and then give it to Kamala. But the Democratic Party started screaming loud, saying you need to leave. The media started screaming loud, saying you're real sick, something wrong with you. And he let her run, and she couldn't beat Trump because she was black and a woman. I'm just
and Pastor,
what he said he was going to do from the beginning. In 2020, I'm running for one term. And in January 2022, he should say, I'm not running. And we could have had a full primary for 2 years, and we'd have beat Trump. Because Trump was already a convicted felon. A convicted felon. Just imagine that while the primaries was going on for the Democrats, that's when Trump we didn't have any primaries. But while that been going on, when he got convicted of the 37 counts, it would have boosted our candidate to win. So this lays at Biden's door, or people around him, that lays at his door. And that's why people saying, why are we still on the Democratic Party? The Democratic Party let us down. Because they don't know how to play the ball game. But their policies are right. The positive, I'm keep coming back to what you were saying. Their policies are right. They lied to us about the process. But their policies are right. The Republicans lied to us about the process and the policies.
The problem with what you just said, Pastor, is that the Democrats say that they couldn't do the things that Trump is doing in office right now. And he's proven them wrong on every time that he gets up in front of them. They say, "Oh no, we ain't gonna do that. We can't do that. We worried about that." But here, I'm gonna go to Dale, because I think I kind of changed the whole subject. The whole subject matter. Let me read Dale's question.
He said Biden became, like so many politicians, getting victim to their own ego. He got stuck on power. He's I could do 8 years like Barack, and he couldn't. But what I keep telling you, Ron, is the stuff that Trump is doing, he's not doing it by the book.
He may not, but he's doing it.
But that's
it's a difference. It's a big difference, Pastor. Here's what I'll tell you.
But the stuff he's doing is not for the good of the country. It's for the good of Trump.
I'm not saying it is.
And a lot of it has been legally challenged.
It is.
Right.
But he's doing something. He's not taking what young people are saying right now is, I'm tired of you telling me what you're gonna do and then you don't do it. I'm tired of you running for one thing while you going while you trying to get elected into the office, and you're not doing it. When he said, when the one thing I can say about Trump, and I can't take this away from him, he said what he was going to do, and he's doing it, whether it's legal or not, and they throw it all out. He's doing what he said he was going to do, and that's what the young people are seeing.
Okay, I want you to do this, Ron. Research Biden's accomplishments as president. Biden's only problem was they did a lot of stuff. He didn't know how to go say what he done.
No, Pastor. No, Pastor.
Think about when he passed all that stuff, all the stuff he passed to revitalize the communities, to reconstruct, renew. Remember when the economy was upside down after COVID? Remember, also the Biden has done. Biden did a whole lot of stuff, but he wouldn't give himself the credit for it. That's the problem with Democrats. They don't never say, "Look what I'm doing."
Well, I'm gonna tell you what they're doing now, Pastor. I'm gonna tell you, Pastor, look at me. Just hear me out on this. I'm gonna tell you what they're doing now. All of them trying to clean up their legacy from that lie that they've been telling about Biden being in the best of health all this time.
I know that part. Yeah.
Yeah, so they can do some things, they can't do other things, and we gotta put them down. We gotta hold them accountable because the name we as black voters, we continue to follow them down that rabbit hole. We've been following them forever and ever and ever and ever, and until we change that mode, until we start telling the truth that the Democrats ain't no different than the Republicans, we're in a whole different ballgame. And Dale, I'm sorry if I got so far off that. Because we started one way and Pastor gave us a history lesson, and I asked one question that I knew I was passionate about, and I'm telling you, Pastor, I don't see what Biden's legacy is about to be the worst in history, and he's taking a lot of good Democrats down with him too.
Ron, let me read you this. Biden-Harris administration record: historic recovery. It was the worst pandemic more than a century. And what he did, he took office to beat the pandemic. He ended the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. He put 100 million vaccines in people's arms. He put the American Rescue Plan back in place to put the economy back in place. Look, and then I'm just reading the headlines without detail. Growing the economy and lowering costs.
He did.
Investing in America.
Hold on, Pastor. I want to stop you right there. Don't go too fast because the Democrats do that too. They say all the stuff that they did good, but what was the price? Wasn't the price of eggs going up before Biden left office?
Man, let me tell you what.
I'm just asking. I mean, if we're gonna discuss it,
let me tell you what. The price of eggs was not about the economy. The price of eggs was about a bunch of chickens got sick with the bird flu, and people use that for the economy.
But who watch was it on?
No.
I'm saying, who watch was it on?
You can't tell me when the bird flu gonna come.
No, I can't, but I can tell you who was in office when it came.
No, let me tell you what I'm saying is this. People at the grocery store, the middleman jacked up the egg prices. Did you ever go to McDonald's or the Burger and Burger King and they say we out of eggs? Did the price of the sandwich change? No. All the McDonald's sandwiches stayed the same. All the Burger Kings, everybody, Whataburger all stayed the same. That was the middleman at the grocery stores hiking up the prices based on the fact that people are on fright and fear to make money because of the bird flu. That had nothing to see with what I'm saying.
So what you're saying, and I want to make sure I understand you because I don't want to put words in your mouth. So you're saying that the price of eggs going up didn't have anything to do with Biden?
No.
Okay.
Bird flu.
So the price of eggs coming down didn't have anything to do with Trump.
Because the bird flu is over with. Hey, Ron, I shoot you straight. I shoot you straight, man.
I know. Pastor, I'm a little bit. I cut a little bit different. So
look, and the Democrats, what they do is because it sounds silly, they don't address the silliness. You see, the Democrats be acting like they intellectual. They saw it the way I saw it. Eggs ain't never changed in none of fast food, so it's not really an issue. But when you have somebody who don't pay attention to the election until it's time for election, and somebody keep saying, I'm gonna bring down eggs, Oh, he's gonna bring down eggs. Let's vote for him. You got to get down in the dirt with the ones who are down in the dirt. If they get down there and roll down there and lie, go down there and fight with the lie with them. The Democrats wouldn't fight the lie.
I just don't think that Biden was even in sound mind to make any decisions toward the end of his election. I saw him get on the View, and I'm Pastor. I just want to say this. I saw him get on the View, and when he was sitting on the View, by the time he got to the third question, his wife had to answer that question.
I know Biden should not have ran. I'm gonna tell you straight up and down. Everybody hear me loud and clear.
Biden should have stepped out of office.
Should not never have ran for the second term.
He should have stepped out of office, Pastor.
I said this when he was running. I said he lied to us. I said I'm offended because they lie on both sides. But I wasn't gonna vote for Trump.
But what they do, you said the one key word there. They lie on both sides, and the other part of them lying on both sides is this: if Biden couldn't complete 3 sentences on the View, his people were lying, not Biden. He probably wasn't there.
But did you see Trump?
Yes.
Did you see Trump interview the other day in Qatar? The rain syndrome. He worse than Biden. He was talking about all kind of crazy stuff that had nothing to do with the interview. Did you see that?
Yeah. Since when have he followed a script?
No.
I don't care if it's on the prompter.
But the stuff he was saying had nothing to do. No, it was crazy stuff like you sitting in your grandfather and say, go make him go lay down. See, Ron, what I want you to understand is this, and I love you, brother. And we've been
doing this a long time, so you know where I come from. So
that Biden and Trump do the same thing, except the Democrats don't know how to fight like the Republicans. So instead of we having crazy Biden up there, we got crazy Trump up there. But Biden heart was in the right place, and Trump heart is in the wrong place.
I don't know where. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know where Biden's heart was, because I know where his people heart was, because they acted for him. You couldn't get this man. You can't even get this man on stage right now, and that didn't happen overnight. I don't know why, and that's the reason why I say until you pull that Band-Aid off and admit that they deceived the American people, they're gonna always have to come back and ask this question. Whether or not they want to say something or they want to take the high road, it doesn't matter about his accomplishments or whatever. At this point, somebody has to step up and say, you know what, we knew it. We didn't do anything about it. Or we knew it, or we thought we knew it, or something. Because everybody else is coming out right now. I mean, they tearing the Democratic Party apart. And it's nothing that we sit here and we talk about black voters. If you keep lying, people are going to continue to walk away from it. It's never going to be saved.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, what happens, Ron, whoever is the loudest noise at the time is what everybody pay attention to. Right now, everybody hollering about his cancer, and it's taken away from what happened to Trump there on the weekend when he had this speech where he was talking about nothing but he was supposed to talk about in that room. They've even tried to propose a bill now for him to get checked out for derangement syndrome, Trump. But because they're trying to control the media, Biden prostate cancer. Biden ain't president no more. Yeah, he did wrong. He should never ran. Trump the president, and he up there with a deranged speech going on.
But he probably got the same doctors that Biden had. I mean, ain't nobody gonna come out and tell the truth, because they're gonna continue to lie all the way through it. I mean, he probably got the same doctors. They're gonna say whatever they want to say. And that's the thing that I'm trying to get to. Until we solve these problems, we're not gonna get any better. We're not gonna get any better by blaming everything on Trump because he did something.
I know, I understand that, but I'm telling you guys that what I'm trying to say is that I'm afraid for America because what Trump stands for could get us destroyed in more ways than one. The racism, like we talked about all these other weeks, about bringing in people from South Africa, pushing people of color out, the greed, playing footsies with Russia and China and North Korea. It's stuff that's beyond the pale that Trump is doing. That can get America destroyed, or at least put us in second-class citizenship. Now, so in other words, while we fussing about or we discussing the illness of Biden versus the illness of Trump, the system of the Democrats, how they weaken their approach versus the Republican. The major problem right now is that we got to get the Democrats together in November 2026 to be able to bring Trump to get some against what Trump is doing. That's what I'm concerned about.
And Pastor, we're all trying to do the same thing because we all have to realize that it's a vote coming up soon.
Yes.
And it's going to be up on us before we even know it. But if we don't admit and start acting on it or doing something toward it, if we keep on having these peaceful conversations and not covering the facts of what happened, we ain't going nowhere. It's gonna be 8 more years because they sitting over there, like Pastor said earlier, they playing chess, and we sitting over here playing checkers.
Yeah.
We sitting over here playing checkers. They got the house, and here, this is what I came up with, Pastor. And I'm coming to you, D, and we're getting ready to go off the air on one of the medias that we own. But here's what I came up with, Pastor. Trump did that big act with him and Pence, and Pence, he wanted Pence to do that act and overturn the government and make it extend and all that. Biden was in office how long? And neither one of them just wanted to go back and kind of reverse that or try to change that first so it would never happen in history again. That doesn't make sense to me. That should have been the first thing. But you talked about it throughout your whole cycle. You talk about somebody coming into the White House and how they was trying to do an insurrection. But you never tried to change that. That's part of the problem, Pastor.
Let me tell you something. Let me read what Trump did when I was in Southern Radio. Yeah, D, I'm not afraid, but the Bible tells me whatever we hear inside the house, shout on the rooftop. On the front lines to tell people what we're dealing with is all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to sound the alarm. I'm not afraid at all. But people are too apathetic. They're not trying to get involved. They just want to say, well, it's okay. Both sides doing wrong. No, but let's read this. Donald Trump unleashed a deeply bizarre rant during his trip to Qatar and rambled about lumberjacks, digging ditches, his MAGA transportation secretary climbing up and down trees, and beat Pete Buttigieg riding a bicycle. This is what he's talking about. When he's supposed to be in Qatar, talking about the Middle East, supposed to be talking about what's going on with Hamas and Pakistanians, and the cognitive decline has never been more apparent. When you look at what's happened with Russia and Ukraine, the drone is killing a tremendous number of people, Trump said during the press conference in Qatar. You hide behind a tree, the drone comes down and covers you with fire. You don't have a head. The tree comes down also, by the way. You just come out of nowhere talking about saying this. It's so intense. I mean, you see those trees being knocked down, like they're being sawed down like a lion, timberman. Like, you know who? Sean Duffy. About Sean Duffy could cut down a tree like a timber. He said stuff that don't even make sense.
I agree with you, Pastor, but here's the deal.
The head of transportation dude who's working right now on airports getting a system because Biden didn't do a thing for 4 years. Pete Buttigieg was the head going bicycling to work, Trump said.
Pastor, here's the deal. I want you to listen to what I just got through saying, what I'm about to say. How many Democrats have you heard say that on the air? You're the only person that I mean, how many people have you heard discuss that conversation that you just had? No,
the Occupy Democrats posted this. I'm reading.
Wait. Wait. Now I want you to understand what you just said. Not the elected Democrats.
I know.
Not the elected Democrats that could have took this and say, you know what? See, he's declining just like Biden did. Y'all talking about Biden, but see, you got to point that out, and they don't do it.
Well, one of them is trying to get a bill passed to get him checked out for the derangement syndrome.
I want him to do it. That's what I want him to do.
One of them trying to get a bill passed, but see, like you say, but not enough of them are jumping up and saying it. See, like
no, because they're scared.
Al Green and Hollywood need impeachment, but we need more Al Greens to do that.
So, well, they had two of them. It was a Vietnamese or Oriental or somebody. I can't think of his name. I don't want to mispronounce but it was somebody that was of a different descent that got on the floor, that's elected in the office, that tried to do the same thing that Al Green did. And they just about laughed him out of the office. I want to read these questions real quick. Who cares? We got 4 years of Trump before. So why are people putting more fuel on the fire and listening to the media? You all are doing just what they want. I'm not their minion. Pastor, I'm gonna let you handle that because I can say what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna let you say it.
I'm gonna talk to her. Ohio congressman introduced a bill asking to study Trump derangement syndrome. See, one Ohio congressman did that, but no, D. What we're saying, I understand, D. Let me tell you what I do right now, D. I get bits and pieces of the news. I look at some of it off of social media. I listen to a lot of jazz music and do sports right now. I'm not letting the media. The stuff I've been saying about Trump, I've been saying since 2015. Ron could tell you. Mm-hmm. It's just a different day, same old stuff. That's another word that people use out in the world I'm not going to use. Trump been doing the same old stuff since 2015. It's just that I know that with a second term now, and now he has the Heritage Foundation behind him. He has people like Elon Musk, even though Elon Musk left Washington, is still in Trump's back pocket. And other powers that be, he's turned up the heat 7 times hotter. Remember in the Bible, when they tell you they took the 3 Hebrew boys and put them in the fire? And they say turn the heat 7 times hotter. Trump is turning the heat 7 times hotter. And you're right, D. They're pitting everybody against each other. And that's what this is all about, where they want the Democrats and Republicans to fight. And that's why Ron and I are saying, if we have more people become independent, to leave both systems, leave out of both frameworks, leave the Democrat and Republican where they at, and build enough independent framework, we can take down that whole system. But not enough of people are doing it inside the system. Yeah, we got 30% of Americans of the independents, but how many of them in Congress? How many of them in the Senate? That's where the problem of it is. The people getting elected, because you know why? The people getting elected by lobbyists. Corporations, money behind them. That's what we're getting at. So even though it sounds like we're just talking in circles and we're like, what can we get done? We got at least say this is what's going on. And that's why the African Americans have stuck with the Democratic Party, because what they see on the surface looks good to them. But what's behind the framework, like Ron say, it's just as bad behind the Republican framework and getting stuff done. And that's why we have a problem.
Yeah, one thing, and don't nobody ever get this wrong. I want the Democratic parties to survive, but in order for them to survive, they got to own some hard truths. And part of the hard truths that they got to own is the mistakes that they made. You plan too much behind closed doors. Yeah. You plan too much behind closed doors, and then you expect us at the last minute to get on board. And we 2014, whenever we were doing the old podcast, we were saying the same thing. So this time, and this is one of the major reasons why we started redoing this podcast, was we didn't hear no Democrats out there. We didn't hear anybody out there screaming that this is wrong. But we wanted to come in and give you a chance to go out and do your own research so we can correct this somehow. Because you know what? They already planning for J.D. Vance to take over for the next 8 years.
Yeah. So it'll be like Reagan 8 and Bush 4, right? Except it'll be Trump 4, Biden, Trump 4 again, and then J.D. Vance 4, and boy, we'll be in a world of trouble.
And by the time the Democrats get a chance to come back in the House or the Senate, it'll be too late.
Yeah.
It'll be too late. And I'm sure that some of them justices are going to be gone within J.D. Vance's term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're on a track. We're on a track to, if we fall captive to what they're doing, and people don't want to believe this, that America could be owned by another country eventually. See, the next war is not going to be with guns and fighting. The next war is going to be economic. And that's why you be careful dealing with China. We might be dead. We might be dead when it happens. But I do believe, when I read the book of Revelation, the United States is not going to survive. Not in the way we are. And then guess what? If another country take over, and let me go into the religious part or the spiritual part, and they take away all the Bibles, then what? The evangelical church become the outcast, then what? You see?
Well, Pastor, the way things are going right now, they don't have to do that. You know why? Because we're not even taking our kids to church to learn.
Right.
We're not putting our kids back in church to learn. We're not letting them learn the lessons that they need to learn in church. We're not even giving our kids the opportunity to go out and get a job or survive. But we are expecting them to do the same things that we did, but they don't have the opportunity that we did. We're not even trying to educate them in the schools to put them in a position where they come out. So yeah, you're right. We might get taken over because we're not doing anything that the rest of the world is doing. They're educating their kids and they're showing them how much an education can mean, and they still got their kids able to make critical thoughts.
Yeah, critical thinking.
Critical thinking, critical thoughts, have critical thoughts, and use critical thinking to think through a problem. We're giving our kids all the answers. If they ain't got the answers, they're coming out of school with A's and B's, but they're using AI to get through their lessons.
Let me tell you something else, man. I cannot tell you what I do everything. If I told you, because I'll be unprofessional because of.
Yeah, don't do that, Pastor.
Right, I'm not gonna tell you. If I told y'all what I see every day in school, you all would not believe it. And we're talking about 3rd grade to 12th grade every day. If I told you, because I'm a disciplinary at the school. If I told you, you're like, really? And I'm actually in one school district in Houston. Houston got several school districts, several. Goose Creek, Deer Park, Clear Creek, Lamar Consolidated, Cy-Fair, Fort Bend, Katy, Conroe, Klein, Spring, A-Leaf, HISD. The list going on. All those school districts are full of schools that have a lot of kids that's just parents not raising kids and messes everywhere. It's called school to prison pipeline. That's another whole show run.
I know. Right. And here, I'm gonna read these questions. We are not. The U.S. is falling asleep. We speak. People are hungry, homeless, and the economy is extremely high. And that's so true. Yeah. And Pastor, to follow up what you're saying, we're setting ourselves up for failure. And if you're in the system, and the only thing you have to do is go out there and look at social media, mm-hmm. and it can back up what you're not saying. Yeah. Because I see our kids going to school punching our teachers. Mm-hmm. I see our kids going to school mad at a teacher over a cell phone. Mm-hmm. I see our kids going to school thinking that they're grown. And then when they act up, the parents come up there and they're worse than the kid. Mm-hmm. But the bigger problem of all of this is they can't even read. They can't even read. Mm-mm. They can't write, they can't read. And then they put them in those classrooms with those other kids and they disrupt the class. And you see it on Facebook. You see it. You see it on those different media channels out there, and we laugh at it. Mm-hmm. But laughing, mm-hmm. That's the sad part about it. Then in the end, who gets penalized? The only person that's got more contact than the parents, mm-hmm. that teacher, because that teacher sits with that child every day. Spend more time with that child every day.
Yeah, go ahead, Pastor. 9 months out the year. The teacher has 8 hours a day, 9 months out the year for 12 years of their life. And then we have to try to raise these kids at the school while we're trying to give them academics at the same time. And I'm at the school where when you get kicked out, you come to my school. Mm-hmm. My friend. That's all I'm going to tell y'all. That's because I'm just keep my professionalism
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if what Pastor Riggins is saying, go out there and just watch, find out. Use social media and just find out for yourself, because it's in your face. Your kids know how to find it, and they might be acting out with what you letting them watch. Because when they come home, they playing games. They're not trying to learn. They playing games, or they going out with their friends, hanging out all night. They going to clubs, unauthorized clubs, and they getting shot in front of the unauthorized clubs, and they're only 13 and 14 years old. What they doing out on the street? Maybe because mama had another club down the street that's older, where older people are going. So that you didn't even know it wasn't there, that they was out there.
Right. Let me
So Pastor, let's I'm gonna let you go ahead, and then we going into another. We went on 3 different platforms while we've been on here tonight.
That's okay. Let me tell you something else though. The students they have no reference of respect. They have no reference of understanding how to follow protocols, how to respect authority. And it goes back to the parents are letting the students dictate to them how they want to live in their house. Then they come and I'm not talking about, they started about like 7, 8 years old at the school I'm at. 7, 8 years old. And then you're 19, you're still over there. You got from 17 to 19 years old, 7 years old and 19 years old. And everything from drugs, I'm talking about pills you take, Quaaludes, some of them have fentanyl in it, all these drugs you have. And then the vape, you have nicotine, and you have the marijuana vapes. But then the language, the attitude, the defiance, this is blatant. And the parents come, then the parents can't even deal with them. Imagine what kind of country we're gonna have if this. But then you see a president of the United States to act just like this, blatant defiant against law, a crazy attitude, speaks violence out of his mouth. You saw that Easter message he had. The list go on and on. So what does America become? America become what she. Let me come here, Malcolm X. Come to me, Malcolm X. The chickens have come home to roost. Chickens have come home to roost.
Pastor, it's sad that we got to this point, but I'm gonna tell you, we ain't gonna resolve it all in this show. We talk about it on a weekly basis. Y'all welcome to come in and join us. Me and Pastor, we get into real discussions here. We're not that sugar-coated show that you can go look at where the host just takes over and then everybody else has to be quiet because he's talking. We all hosts here. We all have different opinions, varied opinions, and we don't have to agree on the way that we're going. We don't have to be in sync. That's something that you see in one of those communist countries where everybody's in sync. We have the opportunity to speak our mind and say what's on our mind, and we're going to continue to do it. And Pastor, I like to engage in conversation with you because sometimes, even though you may not think I'm listening, I listen because I go back and I research it after I get off the air. And if I'm wrong, I'm willing to come back and say, you know what, Pastor, you were absolutely right on this subject. And I'll back off of it. But here's what Trump doesn't allow us to do is let up. He doesn't allow us to let up. And I think that's what the Democratic Party does, is let up. And as they continue to let up, they're destroying where they at. So these elections are coming.
Ron, let me tell you what happened to them. You just brought something to my mind. The reason why King Jefferson and Chuck Schumer all let up, because they're always trying to politic to win the next seat next time. They don't want to legislate in government. Soon as they get elected, especially as a congressman, it's a 2-year deal. As soon as you got elected and got sworn in, you already trying to run for 2026. And so everything you doing is trying to shape, can I win the next election instead of can I do it right or wrong? Can I do it right whether I win or don't win? That's what the problem of it is. If you got to stand on 2 feet and say, listen, Biden is sick. That's what they should have done back in 22.
Thank you, Pastor.
Biden is sick. Not worrying about if I say Biden is sick, I ain't gonna be able to get the money that they're gonna pass out to the Democrats and run in 2024. I don't need your money. I can get my own money. That's what they should do. That's what you getting there, Ron. You getting there that they don't want to stand on their own 2 feet. Even if they say they believe in something, they never get bold enough and brave enough to stand on what they believe.
Absolutely. They're going to walk right off that cliff with everybody else because they're looking forward, not down, around, and up. They're just marching in the line, Pastor. So, Pastor, I know somebody's not marching in the line. They ain't had to follow nobody because he was first, last, and only. Pastor, could you get us out of here? I can't go without a prayer.
Okay, man. Okay. Hey, guys, we're so glad y'all watched us tonight. We missed Baron Glass tonight. We hope to have him.
Yes.
We do know that after discussing all this, that God is still in control.
Always.
God's in control. All he's looking for us to do is present ourselves, to make ourselves available for us to become a vessel that he can use. And if you notice, it doesn't have to be in the pulpit. It doesn't have to be on knees praying. It doesn't have to be in the baptism.
Yes, sir.
The fact that you're in the community, impacting your community, your city, your world for what's good. That's what we're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
We thank you for this opportunity to be able to discuss what's before us, to be able to bring light in the midst of darkness, to bring a voice in the midst of silence, to bring hope in the midst of despair, to bring you into our world.
Yes, sir.
Bless everyone the sound of our voice that's watching live or archive. We leave this platform, but not your presence. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And if you look at my hair right now, my hair is white. And anytime the background is white, it looks like I'm glowing or like I got a special power. I don't. That's the reason why I wear my hat, because my hair is great. I share it with you. Good night, everybody. I enjoyed it. Thank God that we got this platform, and we're gonna use it every chance that we get. Byron, I hope you're feeling better, or if you had to work, make them dollars, bro. Good night.